Hello Nikhilesh, welcome to Mykas College, Mysuru.
Hello sir, very happy to be here on this podcast.
Right, even before we start this podcast, could you please introduce yourself to our audience? If you can cover your schooling, college and your family, it would be great.
I've been a Mysorean from the birth, and I am sure I'll be Mysorean and will be in Mysore for the rest of my life. I did my schooling in St. Joseph's College, school, Jarishnipuram. Then did my undergrad in business management from Mahajanas, Mysore University. Then I did my post-graduation from SJCE with dual specialization HR and marketing. Then I was teaching for a short while as a visiting faculty for few undergrad and post-graduation colleges. Then I've been actively taking care of my family business, Lakshmi Industries, which is into manufacturing of M-sand and machine crushed aggregates. Then I also started an organization called Kalisu Foundation, where we work to improve the quality of education in government schools. And my parents, my father MC Mallikarjun is a businessman, my mother N Punya Pavitri again is an homemaker, my wife Nagashri is a software engineer who is helping me in Kalisu Foundation. And I have a very naughty son, Arjun Shiv, who is 5 years old.
Great. Nikhilesh, see, the association between Mykas and Kalisu dates back to 2014.
Correct.
I still remember our PU students, Satvik, Anahata, Madhumita, Sana. These people interned with Kalisu 10 years back. So it's a strong bond and it still exists. Recently, Soni, Nishchal, Anusha, these people interned with you. So as the representative of Mykas College, I know Kalisu, but for the benefit of the audience, could you please tell us what is Kalisu, who founded it, and what does exactly Kalisu does?
So the story goes back to 2013, where I was going and teaching in a college. So as part of college social club, we visited one of the government schools in one of a very good locality in Mysuru. So when I started going there, when we visited, we realized that school had plenty of challenges. Students had plenty of scope to improve, to do good, to be better. That is when I realized we need to do something about that particular school. But then once we started visiting often, we also started exploring other schools, and that is when I realized that the problem is not to just that school. The problem lies in many of the government schools, and we need to change it. I strongly believe that education is the only way for a better India. And during those days, today also I read and I follow a lot about Abdul Kalam. Whatever he said, Mission 2020, Vision 2020 for India. 2012-13, I thought, if this pace continues, it will not happen. And we cannot leave everything to the government. Though it's government schools, yes, government is doing plenty of things, but why blame every time on government? And that is when I thought, we should start working in government schools, because today also about more than 50% of the children in the country studies in government schools. And that is when I started Kalisu Foundation, where we wanted to improve the quality of education in government schools. Today, Kalisu is into setting up libraries to make it sustainable. We want to ignite the habit of reading. It's like, there's a proverb that don't give man a fish, instead of teach them how to fish. So we're not giving them direct education, but we are teaching them how to get education. Today, we don't know anything. We go see Google and we read. But the problem with rural and government school children is if they do not know to read, where will they get the knowledge from? So we are teaching them how to read and getting that habit onto it. Then we also do project play, where we build play areas and sports lab, because I strongly believe that though mental education, physical fitness is also very, very important. So we run these two projects. Along with, we do a lot of infrastructure updates to schools also. So this is what Kalisu is doing.
This prompts me to ask another question to you. No doubt the exposure at the government schools or government school children to internet and maybe digital media at the moment is on the lower side. But with technological progress, they will also have exposure. It might not take a very long time, in shorter period of time. Do you still feel with that kind of advancement, this habit of reading will continue to be there, reading the books?
Absolutely, it will be there. Nothing can change the joy of holding a book and reading it, and nothing can substitute the joy of holding a pen and writing on the physical book. So these two things will never change. Yes, there is digital technology, or taking in over, like there are a lot of other means to read with technology coming in, but still book reading will stay, and it should stay. We are striving hard. We are also coming up with digital libraries, but it will be more of audio library where stories are read out, students listens to it, and then imagine to themselves and things like that. So we're working on it. So very soon we'll go with digital library, but which is more of audio library. But we don't, again, because once you put in a lot of visual aids, it will become TV to iPad to phone, and then, so we don't want to do that. So we want to have physical libraries. Inside the library we'll have digital infrastructure which will support audio library.
Great. One personal question to you. How big are you on reading? How many books do you read, or how many books have you read?
Yes, my reading habit started only when I joined my post-graduation. I have to agree that there was a professor called Professor Praveen Kumar. So when we joined MBA, he said, read a book. That was his first class, first session, introduction, orientation. Pick up a book in the library and read a book, and in 4 days time. We started reading. Then after second day, he checked the progress. Then he said, after reading, you need to review the book and give a presentation on it. First of all, I was not into reading. I should agree. So I was not into reading in my undergrad or PU days. Then he said review. First thing I did was Googled and said, what is review of a book? I didn't know what is review of the book also. So that is when then I understood what is, how to review a book, what is the process, what you need to see and everything. Then we said, okay, 4 days time was enough. So all of us were very smart to choose, the smallest book. So it was about smallest book also was 152 pages, but we somehow managed to read, and then we wrote a review, gave a presentation. So we were about 40 in our batch MBA. So after 4 days, it was like literally the 5th and the 6th day, all of us infused knowledge was 40 books.
Correct.
So, so that was, amazing. Then we finished everything. He said, oh, good, you all learned the review. Then immediately said, okay, now one more book, but you'll have one week's time. So we said again, oh God, first was just assignment. Second, he said, okay, continue this. Then we continued. Then again, 3rd week, then next month, it started continuing. And that is when I realized the power of reading. And that is where I actually got into it. And now wherever I travel, in airports, book-stalls, anywhere I pick up books, sometimes it's hard to find time to read books, but I enjoy reading books. I have my own collection of library. One habit I very well remember, again it was during my undergraduation time, there was a professor called Professor Timme Gaudru. He was actually telling, but we didn't do it, but when I started reading books, I realized he was telling, buy a book, write your name, write the date of purchase and keep it in your bookshelf after reading. Your children will, you cannot imagine the power of that asset you are creating to your children. So, when I combined both, I started buying books. Today also I buy a lot of books. But only thing I do is I don't buy the purchase date. I write the date when I finish reading it. So I'm writing my name, keeping in my shelf. I'm sure it'll create like a good asset to my children.
Great, wonderful, Nikhilesh. So, in your post-graduation days, you got into the habit of reading.
Yes.
And today you have set up 99 libraries in urban government schools. What made you choose the government urban schools?
Yes, we are predominantly in urban schools, but we are also setting up a lot of libraries in rural areas also. But what I felt is, I remember my mother telling, first clean your house, clean your room, clean your cupboard, and typically every college or school going children would hear that. So when my mother was telling, first clean your cupboard, clean your room, so that thought is like very much there. So I felt first our surrounding, say for example, I live in a particular area, so I want that particular area government schools to be good first. Then we keep moving on, going out and things like that, and slowly spreading. I believe in that, I don't believe in putting flags all over India saying that we are one school there, one school here, one school there. First, I am from Mysuru. I want to do something good to Mysuru first to begin with, and then if God wishes and if everybody supports, spreading out to the country is not a challenge at all. But first, I want to show everyone that Mysuru, this is what is capable of through one small organization.
Now you have almost 100 libraries, and you have set up libraries mostly in Mysuru. You have your presence in other cities also.
Yes.
You are in Pune, you are in Hyderabad, and
Yes.
few other places.
Yes.
How many total books have you stacked in these libraries?
So on an average, if you ask me, there are about 2,000 to 2,500 books in each library. Average.
Okay.
There are some libraries which has more than 3,000 books. There are some library which has about 1,500 books. So on an average, it's about, you can keep it as 2,000 books in a library.
So that's around, say, if you take 2,000 as average into around 100 libraries, so 2,000 into 100, that's the number of books that you have already stacked in these libraries. How do you arrange for these books? Do you buy or you get donation? How does it?
So we get donation also. We send it out to libraries. We also buy books, because the idea of making and creating library is, giving good environment. So we want children to feel the new book also. So we also put in a lot of new books, and we buy books and keep it. Wherever we get donations also, we place that. But when we get donation, we'll go through that book. If it's only in good reading condition only, we put it in library.
So you make sure that the books that are stacked in the library are in good condition.
Very good condition.
And a good percentage of that are newly procured, new books.
Yes.
So the touch and feel would be great.
Yes. And also when you said how do you arrange it was one of your question. So these are something which is very simple and very different, which many of them may not agree, but we have been following it. Initially when we were doing libraries, we were arranging as different categories: biography, autobiography, sports, encyclopedia, story, Kannada, English and all that. After certain libraries, we realized, for example, if it's stories, students were only going to that category.
Correct.
If it's Kannada, see, the idea is not to make them just read. The idea is to ignite the reading habit, build the reading habit, and they should make choices, they should make decisions on picking the right book. So after a certain time, we realized students were only going to one corner, one rack and all that. That's what typically happens in a private school, private college. That is what we have also done. So now, from last few libraries, we are arranging the books in an episode manner. So students to pick up a book needs half an hour time.
Okay.
Many may say, why should he or she waste half an hour time to pick up a book? But that's the beauty. So in the process of picking up one book, they would have gone through at least 10 books.
Wonderful.
So, that's the idea.
At least they go through titles of 15 books.
Exactly.
And they know the
exactly. They know what are books, what kind of books are available, because these are government school children. They are not exposed to they don't walk into Sapna Book House or book festival, every year once or things like that. So these children needs to get that exposure, and introduction of books should happen to them.
This idea came out of your experience.
Everything, whatever you see in the library, I'll share pictures with you. I'm sure you've seen whatever we have done is all through experience, because when we started building libraries, we were spending time there. We were sitting and reading. We put bamboo mats, which may not look as fancy as the mats you get in a mall or things like that. But why we put pure bamboo mat without painting also is, bamboo mats technically is very good for health when you sit cross-leg and read. So we do that. We don't, if you put little fancier mat at the same cost, it will look good. But the idea is just not look good.
It's not about fancy only.
Exactly. It's about
the real value that it carries.
Exactly. And we typically believe, I strongly believe in Indian education system of Gurukul system. So all our libraries, especially for primary school, they have to sit down on a bamboo mat, low tables, crossed leg, and that is what we do.
I've also observed one more thing in your posts and other things. You also paint the entire library, whitewash the entire library before you actually set it up.
Yes.
And the common thing that I see is you will use bright colors, and there'll be some flowers and plants and all those things on the wall. What is the psychology behind?
In many schools, the process is first we identify a room. So when you identify the room, in some cases or many cases, the rooms may not be in good condition. It could have, there could be water dripping down the slab also and things like that. So we do waterproofing. Then we do complete, whitewash, good, neat, finished painting, and then we do artwork. The idea is just not when you want to ignite an habit of reading, because when I tell these things to a private school teacher or a parent who is sending their children to private school, they say, please come and help my child also to for the habit of reading. So when you want to ignite an habit, it's definitely a big challenge, but we need to take this up. We need to do it. Otherwise, India will remain the same as it is. So if you want to see a change in India, you want to do something which is totally different. Otherwise, there's no point. So now the idea is give them good environment, make them feel good. Now I'm sitting here and talking to you. You made me feel so good, so comfortable, and I could talk so freely. Imagine if we were in a very non-comfortable room, the podcast, whatever discussion we are doing, it wouldn't happen so well. It is so comfortable that I can go on talking and talking. Similarly, imagine a room which is very bright, vibrant, comfortable for students to sit. They don't mind spending time there, for whatever time they want. So the idea is, give them good environment.
So you're talking about the importance of atmosphere inside the library along with books.
Absolutely.
Right.
Very important.
Wonderful. See, this prompts me to ask another question now. 100 libraries, 2000 books, government school, and your website says around 52% of children still go to government school, and government schools are predominantly the educators in the country. That's nice. Now the next question is, after setting up all these things, do you have any statistics which says how much of time these children have spent in the library, how many books have they read, and what is the kind of impact that these libraries have on these children?
Correct. So now we keep a register where our team monitors it every quarterly, and we ask the teachers also to send the photograph of whatever books they have read, what is the time they have spent and all that. So we also train the teachers after setting up the library on how it should be maintained. It's very simple. It's very self-sustainable in terms of maintenance. And and we get that updates about how many books are read, because we also replenish books at a point of time after, because when we get donations, we send it to libraries where it is read, the books are read the most, used the most, and things like that. And government schools, every school has it, and we make sure the teachers also follow and take the students there for a library period and just leave them. It could be free period, it could be library period. They have to spend time in the library. That means they are somewhere getting attached to books. So we do that.
Okay. So this way you make sure that the resource that you have put in these schools are put into best use.
Absolutely. There are also instances, if you talk of impact, there are also instances that one of our students has written about 100 poems about Kalisu Foundation. Just about Kalisu Foundation. Like one of the poem is ನಾವು ದೇವರು ಇರುವುದು ದೇವಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ, ಮನುಷ್ಯನು ಇರುವುದು ಭೂಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ, ಆದರೆ ನಾವು ಇರುವುದು ಕಲಿಸು ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ. So this is written by a student called Bhavani, which if I'm, the moment I'm telling also I'm getting goosebumps. Imagine, these kind of work, these kind of, what to say, reflections, I think, inspire us to do more work. So like that we have made a book out of that poems. Similarly, in one of the school, like 22-23, our student who went to our library in one of the school is a state topper. She's got 625 out of 625. And she's made a video and sent it that this library helped me a lot, because the books kept here were so good. Because sometimes we keep reference books also. So but only thing is that video we took after a year. Because we don't believe in blowing our own trumpet. At a point, a lot of people say it's necessary, but why necessary? Our work will talk. Now we are 99. Last 2 years we have done 40 libraries. So we are, increasing our pace. So work will talk to, work will talk. We don't want to simply go and say, and we don't want to spend money on marketing, we don't want to spend money on social media, we don't want to spend money on, because we are a non-profit organization. When project comes in, we do projects, it will definitely help people. But why we need fundraising manager, why we don't need marketing manager, we don't need any of the managers. So that's a very strong belief of me.
Now I think I should ask this question. When you talk to the teachers of the schools where you have set up the library, where children are going and reading these books, do they see any behavioral change in these children? Have they told anything about the students in their school?
See, one plus point is it's a feather in the cap for the school.
Correct.
So teachers feel happy that we have got a fantastic library facility. Students feel happy because again they've got a fantastic facility. So for students, one is library, wow, it's nice. Then secondly, it will be the most colorful and vibrant space in the entire school.
Yeah.
So eventually what is happening in any of our school libraries is that space is also getting converted into, say, it could be meeting hall, it could be some function for children, it could be any activity, that space is being utilized. Rest of the times it's because not morning to evening students will not sit there and read books. There will be many other things, there'll be, when there are classes, there are many activities also being conducted in library. So students and children will feel like, probably happy is also a smaller word, they feel delighted that this facility is there in their school.
Now you are actually working on two areas, if I've understood correctly. One is library, inculcating the habit of reading, creating a vibrant space in the school where teachers and students take pride that this space exists in my school. That's one part. Other part is the play area where students go and play, where you provide them with required equipments, and that focuses on their physical fitness. So if I have to put it crudely, bodybuilding and brain building, these are the two areas where you are actually working on, which leads to fitter and smarter India. That's the vision. But in reality, what is your vision for Kalisu? Where do you want to see Kalisu?
I've told this on many occasions. I want to close down Kalisu by probably 2030 is my idea, because it's a non-profit organization.
Okay.
It is not that I pass on this for generations together, and I don't believe in it. I want to change the education system because I'm also a businessman. I come from a family of business. So I'm also very active in in my family business also. So for Kalisu, there are two options. One is closed down completely because you have changed education landscape in Karnataka or in India, and I'm happy with it and I'm done. So it will become self-sustainable in the coming years. If not, I've still changed the education landscape. Now let me get into a new landscape. Okay. So either two things, either I should close down completely and focus more on my business, my work. Otherwise, change the landscape after some years. Because if I'm not changing the landscape after some years, there's something terribly wrong, in the approach. So 15-20 years is a big time to change. So that's my idea.
So 2013 Kalisu started, the deadline you have set for it is 2030. 17 years of work goes into it, and wherever it is at 2030, you wish to close it down. And you want to create an impact.
Exactly.
And make it self-sustainable.
Yes, it could be plus 1 year or minus 1 year also. We could do it much faster. Imagine I go and talk to the government and say, this is what is library, this is what is the model you need to follow, this is what you need to do. We will empower the government, or will empower anybody doing this. So there are, in, say for example, in Mysuru district, there are about 3,200 schools, government schools, including all the taluks. So in Karnataka, it could be about, about a lakh or 1.5 lakh schools. So somebody says, government says, this is a good model, let's put it in every school. I think tomorrow only I'm done. Yeah. So things like that. So even sports area or play area, or Kalisu play also, when we focus on play area and sports lab, that is the idea. If tomorrow, if government says or somebody else says, okay, there are 1 lakh schools, we'll set up everything, we'll empower you, let's go quick. That's it, we are done. So that's the idea. So I don't want to be, that's why if you see my Facebook post or social media or anywhere, we don't celebrate 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 years. There's no milestone put at all. Sometimes I'll also forget when we started, because the moment we celebrate that we have completed so many years, I always look back and see what have we achieved, what have we impacted. It can be much faster. It should be much faster. in India, with so many NGOs present, I think the problems in the country should be solved much faster.
Correct.
But unfortunately, it's growing actually, it's not going. So we need to work together, collaborate. All the non-profits along with government should come together and we should solve this problem and and be done with it.
In that case, what are the major impediments you have faced in the last 10-11 years to run your mission, to set up libraries?
To be frank, nothing in particular, because teachers are very supportive, government bodies are very supportive, from DDPI to BOs, they are very good, officers, bureaucrats, everything is good, donors, they are very supportive. So when it comes to, if you ask me some of the challenges, when we do the work, say it could be reporting, statutory requirements is taking a little time, but I don't see that as a challenge, but that's part of the process. So as of now, I'm enjoying it thoroughly, doing it.
In your experience, if you have to give some advice to educational institutions like us, because this is one of the biggest challenges that we face, how to make students read, especially after Google and now generative AI coming in, the habit of reading is slowly decreasing, and I fear where it will die. Maybe when I say reading habit, not from the phone and pads and computers, from the physical book. So are there any tips with your experience which you can share with us, which we can implement in the college to make students read more?
Absolutely. My experience of it started with reviewing the book. So book review system, which is very strictly implemented and some marks allotted or something like that to start up with, will definitely, I don't say all the 60 will get into it, but guys like me will definitely get into it, and just one reading habit, one book review, I've more than in my personal collection is only more than 1,000 books. So sometimes I feel I don't know, there's a space crunch also. I manage it between office, home, there, here, wherever possible. So asking students to review book and and some interesting books. See, I don't tell students should read only management books. There are a lot of books. There is humor books, there is biography, there is love stories, there is some frictions, Indian friction, things like that. So they should start picking up a subject which they enjoy the most, and then they'll get into the reading habit. So for me, I don't have any specific book, specific author that I enjoy. I enjoy every book because there's something written. If something is going into the book, there is some takeaways. So I go randomly pick up books. I don't search for, this book, that book. Wherever I go, I pick up books and come.
Okay. Now the next question to you is, the present MP of Mysuru Kodagu Lok Sabha has been your brand ambassador even before becoming the MP. How did this connection happen, and what made Mr. Yaduvir to be your brand ambassador?
Yeah, lot of people ask me that question, or have asked me that question. To be frank, I also don't know.
Okay.
Because he came for a couple of programs. Then we asked him. We requested that that please be our ambassador, because we believe in so and so changing school landscape. Whatever I've been telling, I told. And instantly his reply was yes. Okay. There's literally no questions asked. Said yes, done. Then we said we'll do a program and we will announce it that he said yes, that's it. So that was the only conversation which has happened between us and between him about this topic. There's nothing else. So when he visited a couple of schools before getting into the role of ambassador for Kalisu, he very much liked it, enjoyed it, and he very much believed in the cause. See, because he also believes education is one of the most important things in the country, and he believes that that change is a must, and with this with him taking up new leadership role, I'm 100% sure that Mysuru and Kodagu will see a new era, because he believes in solving a lot of ground level issues. So I would like to thank God for bringing him as an ambassador, and definitely making him an MP, because his family's contribution is huge, And I also like to mention, he's visited about 60 government schools in Mysore, more than Mysore, Bangalore, across, with Kalisu alone, about definitely more, around 50 to 60 government schools with Kalisu. Along with that, he and his wife Srimati Trishika, both of them have visited numerous RD schools which nobody knows. Like, I've been part of those programs sometimes, but they've been doing so much for the social change, both of them together, is amazing to see. Sometimes I've told him also that, you should tell people that you're doing this. He says, no, why? Impact is happening, I'm going and doing it, that's fine. So that is the simple, and is so simple and down to earth that, I mean, for a common man like me, I'm very happy him coming as Maharaja, and now I'm very happy him coming as Member of Parliament. So
wonderful. Now let us change the track of discussion a little, because there are multiple segments in your life.
Yes.
So we know Nikhilesh comes from a family which is into business, and you're actively taking part in your family business. You have set up 99 libraries. I'm only hopeful that one day you'll be called the Library Man of India. The third important segment in your life is you are a runner.
yeah.
You very actively participate in marathon,
Yes.
and you have completed half marathon, full marathon, all these things. How has running impacted your personality or your life in general?
I would say a lot actually, because whatever new thoughts, new ideas comes to me, which people call it innovative, which I also feel, oh wow, good idea, is 90% of it has come when I'm running.
Wow.
So I don't know, maybe it is just my time. I don't know why, how, what, but lot of good ideas comes to me when I'm running. So I enjoy running a lot. I also do a formal training. I train under a coach in Bangalore with a group called Pacemakers. There is a coach called Coach Pani. He's a very senior coach and most respected coach in the country. So I train under him. I get schedules. And a fantastic bunch of people in Bangalore. So I get schedules from them. But I'm also not that kind of a serious runner where they're all very professionally done. But I enjoy running a lot, and that is what keeps me going. Yeah.
Then another thing that you very commonly do is delivering talks.
Yes.
You have delivered hundreds of talks,
Yes.
especially to the undergrads and the post-graduation students. So when you go and meet these youngsters, they're mostly in college.
Yeah.
What is your take on the youth of the country today?
Very high energy. Probably like my generation. I'm also not old to say my generation, but all of us, if 10 people combine together, one person is having that kind of energy in a college now. The only problem, all of us are failing, including me, we are failing to channelize the energy. Like for example, my son is just 5-year-old, and it's so hard to channelize his energy. But if his energy is channelized, similarly a college student, school student energies are channelized, I think India will change very rapidly. But all of us together to come together and channelize that energy and take it in the right direction. That's it. There are also instances where I read people, today youngsters are spoiled, today youngsters, that is happening, this is happening. I strongly don't believe in it. It is just that right channeling is required. For me, for example, I'm also young, so my parents channelized my energy. I was definitely monitored. They were very strict on me in terms of coming back to home right time, following my activities, what I'm doing and all that. But today I'm happy about it, because if my parents had let me free, I don't know, I could have been a spoiled brat also. But today it's different. So I thank my parents for being strict with me. So today younger generation also should understand, if teacher is strict on them, it is for their own good. If parents are strict on them, it is for their own good. If students misunderstand these things, I think
They are at loss.
their students are at loss, and collectively the country is at loss, because they are not able to channelize their own energy. They are not letting their parents or teachers also channelize their energy. So everybody should understand that youth in India is a very, very strong force, and if we utilize rightly, country will progress rapidly. Whatever our Prime Minister he says Vikasit Bharat 2047, it should be achieved in the next 10 years if it's rightly channelized.
Wonderful. Now, with this question, we will end this podcast. My last question to you is there a chance? I know you have set the deadline as 2030, 31 or 29, 30, 31, but still I dare to ask this question. Is there a chance where Kalisu will set up a public library, a big public library, where anybody can walk in? Because government school has its own restrictions. A public library where a lot of books are kept, anybody can walk in, read and come out. Do you have any such ideas in mind?
There are a lot of requests which comes to us in rural areas that set up a library and all that. We haven't done any because we see why we were focusing only on library for the last 8-9 years is we wanted to understand the system first, and we didn't want to spread our projects. So now just 1 year, 1.5 years back, we have started Project Play. So public library is something, it works very differently. A lot of funds needs to go, a lot of recurring expenses. Now when we set up library in a school, there is a school teacher who works as a librarian and all that. This is something, a lot of factors are not under our control, where the people coming in, we don't know who is coming in, what they are doing and things like that, in terms of maintenance and all that. So if things go well, now I believe in a lot of I believe in things that if good things has to happen, it will happen, because we are all staying in Mysuru, we are all under Chamundeshwari's blessing. So whatever happens, especially in Mysuru, without Chamundeshwari's approval or without her permission, nothing will happen in Mysuru. So maybe if Goddess says public library is a must, and Kalisu is the channel utilized for it, we'll be happy doing it. There is nothing like we don't want to do anything. We want to do everything, but only thing is it should be impactful. The moment I find myself or Kalisu not impacting the society at large through schools, improving the quality of the school education, that is the last day Kalisu operates, and that is the last day I will be involved in Kalisu. I strongly believe in, if you are not adding value to the place you belong to, you shouldn't be there. I mean, but only thing is keep adding value wherever, whatever, and that is when all of us will grow. So that's about it.
We only wish that all these things happen and Kalisu becomes much more bigger than what it is today. And I, from the bottom of my heart, wish that you get recognized as the library man of India, and you get all the credit and good things that you deserve.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Nikhilesh, for being our guest.
Thank you. On this occasion, I would like to thank mainly volunteers, because today I'm just coming here and talking to you as a face of the organization, but all hard work, dedication from day one till today, we have had hundreds of volunteers, more than 1,500 volunteers who have worked for us, because without them, Kalisu would not have been possible. Today where it is. So today wherever we've gone, it is because of volunteers, our donors, supporters, my family members. Definitely sometimes even my wife gets the burn, because my free time is utilized for Kalisu sometimes. So without all of them, like for example institutions like yours have supported, sent students to volunteer, there are many institutions, volunteers, donors, supporters, government officials, teachers. Without them, Kalisu would not have achieved whatever we have achieved today. So thanks to all of them through your podcast. And thank you for inviting me and doing this. So it is actually, I am also getting reflecting my own whatever we have done, because when you're emphasizing on 99, I've been part of majority, more than 95% of the inauguration. So we've cut the tape 99 times itself is a and all of them in working condition. That makes us very happy being here and reflecting on my life, whatever I've done. So thank you very much, sir.